These are the stories of Careblazers, the stories of husbands, wives, sons, and daughters whose world is forever changed since caring for their loved one with dementia. You'll hear stories of heartbreak. You'll hear stories of love. These stories are real, raw, and powerful. I hope these stories show you you're not alone, and I hope they give you some inspiration and help as you go through your caregiving journey.
Mary, thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your story with other Careblazers. Take a moment to tell us a little bit about yourself and who you care for.
Okay, I'm Mary. I'm 73, type A, retired workaholic. I care for my husband of 50 years, and he's 88.
Wow.
So we have a nice spread. He planned it perfectly.
He planned for you to be able to care for him?
I think so. Of course, he doesn't think I am caring for him, of course. And sometimes, of course, he doesn't know who I am. So,
wow. Okay.
But it's all good.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your husband's condition. It sounds like he's not really aware that he has dementia.
It's interesting that you asked that question, because he was much more aware than I was. And I've heard that this is typical. I retired in 2014. We're out there sailing, doing our thing. He's filling out, sending in contributions to Alzheimer's Association. I'm like, what are you doing that for? And so fast forward a couple years, he's like, we have to sell our boat. I can't take care of it anymore. And basically I had been covering for him. And, I was like, okay, and I didn't have any diagnosis. As far as I knew, he didn't. And, basically it was like getting hit by a truck. I just thought he was being difficult.
So it sounds like he was aware in the beginning some things weren't going okay, and he knew to give up certain things when it was no longer safe.
He had given up driving, which I didn't even realize that he couldn't find his way home. But he was like, oh, why don't you drive? Why don't you drive? And he would always let me drive. And I'm the oldest of 10 children. So I'm like a take charge person anyhow. And I've always been the in charge.
Yeah.
So, it was little bits, and that was a very difficult period. That was 2018. And I was like, well, what's really going on here? And we went, of course, I didn't really change my schedule or his. And I'm like, okay, we're going to go visit my sister in New Jersey. And then we're going to go visit your brother-in-law, up in Connecticut. And we're going to do all of this. And we're going to go to Philadelphia and we're going to do this. And we get to Philadelphia and he has a complete break.
Oh.
He wakes me up and he says, you have to leave now, and I'm like, what? He said, you have to leave now, he said, I can't sleep with another man. And I'm like, oh man. So and that break, I was like, okay, I got to turn all of this down. And
so he thought you were another man in the bed. And at that point, had you realized something was seriously happening with him? No. Okay. So this was like your first kind of major, okay, I can't ignore this anymore. Something's happening.
No, I can't ignore it anymore. And I have to get full control.
Right. So when he did that, like, what went through your mind? Like, what did you think that was about, or what was going on?
I thought he had that he really had this sort of psychotic break, and that the memory loss and the wayfinding, he had already lost a lot of wayfinding. You know, we'd go out for a walk and I'd say, okay, you go that way, I'll go this way, I'll meet you at the next corner. And the next thing I know, the police are bringing him home. So, you know, I'm telling you, for somebody who had I am sure that there are other people who probably are going through this right now, but you're probably the last to know because you don't get it.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get it. You know,
Right.
I was in denial, and he pretty much knew what was going on, and he couldn't hold it all together. So I made my checklist. I changed our medical plan so that he was on my plan. You know, we went where they have all the records in one place, you know, like an HMO. And I made an appointment with an attorney right away. You know, I looked up, they have these books, and I said, I want somebody who deals with, you know, people with Alzheimer's or whatever. And, you know, we got medical, you know, we just did all the paperwork right away.
Wow.
And I took him and we met. This was a wonderful man. He understood. And Jim was involved every step of the way, even though he didn't really understand. He's like, whatever you want, whatever you want.
Okay.
And so that was good. So we got that in shape, and you know, he got a referral from primary care to the neurologist. The neurologist did the little test in the office and said, you have dementia. I'm like, whoa, yep. So
did you know what that was? Like, did you understand what that diagnosis meant?
Yes, I did. Of course. But I had been, you know, I had been avoiding and denying and generally, no, I mean, I probably knew, but kept thinking that it just wasn't that bad. And of course, you know, at this point, he's like 85, 86. I'm like, oh, come on, it's senior stuff. It's like, this is what happens. You know, you get older and you start losing things. But the thing that he lost really right away, and I became more and more aware of it, was wayfinding. He really never knows where he is at all. So he's not at home. This isn't our home. We're continually on vacation. You know, he wakes up and he's like, is the boat anchored? I'm like, yeah, it's anchored. But I said, we're at dock, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, and then he'll get up, and of course, the next year we started to have medical problems. And he developed septic arthritis and had to have several knee operations. So that was a bummer, you know. So now he's pretty sure that he's been skiing too much, because he was very athletic. He played ice hockey up until we stopped, you know. And so it is weird. And I honestly, really, when the medical problems started, I just didn't know how to cope. It was like, this, you know, this is really, really bad, because the infection just caused tremendous delirium and hallucinations and anger. And I was like hit by a truck, and I stayed up at night Googling, and I found you, and I started crying, and I was like, oh my God, you know, here's the things that I need to do. And so now I just live right in his world, and it's just great.
Wow. Yeah. So it sounds like the physical stuff was really challenging for you. Like, what would you have to do?
Are you ready for this?
I'm bracing myself.
What would I have to do? Well, I had to give him intravenous antibiotics
You did.
24/7. Yes, I
So
did.
they had to train you on that.
Yeah, they did. They trained me. They were originally, it was a question of whether he would go in, but he kept pulling all his things out. So what I would do would be to clip him to me at night so that if he woke up at all, I would wake up
Oh
at the
my
same time
goodness.
and do that. And so I had to give them every, I think the first time I did it 3 times. The first time it was like every 6 hours. So,
Wow.
you don't get a lot of sleep.
Wow.
And,
And was he letting you do that?
well, he didn't like wearing this machine. I would have to put the plug in and, reinsert the bag of antibiotic. You keep this stuff. They got a better one the second time. It was like a pump thing. But yes, he did. He did. There was, some minor struggles, but yeah, he let me do it. And of course, each time he was like, "What is this?"
Right.
So, everything's new every time, everything.
Mm-hmm. How
So
do you manage that? I imagine that requires a lot of patience.
it does it, and that's another thing I learned from the videos. You know, I get asked the question 100 times. And now I just have a lot of fun coming up with the 100 answers, or
Mm-hmm.
this answer, or like which answer is going to be the most soothing or the most whatever, but I
Mm-hmm.
try not to be rational and I try to be humorous because
Mm-hmm.
he is funny. He was a journalist and he's very good with words and he's very funny himself. The doctors love him. They love
Oh.
him, because he'll come in and he talks to his orthopedic surgeon and he says, "Oh," he said, he said, "I'm going to stop skiing." He's got this leg that's out to here. And luckily, I have the best thing I ever did was change healthcare and get it all in one place. We're Kaiser
Yeah.
Permanente, and everybody knows what everybody else has done.
Yes.
They all can see the notes from everybody knows what's going on.
Right.
And I know because I can log in and see all the notes and see
Yes.
everything. If he gets a test done, I can see the results as soon as they're posted. We all know what to do to watch for infections and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So that's been good. And I would say that all the people with doctor have been awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people say, well, they're, you know, uh, they don't give you a lot. But actually, for me, if you really work the system and
Mm-hmm.
if you get people who understand what's going on and you develop a relationship with them, then I
Mm-hmm.
think you get all the help that you need. And if you don't, then go change and get somebody who's going to give that to you.
Yeah. That's great that that's your experience. And I think what's standing out to me and hearing you talk already is that you took action quickly. You saw what was happening. You got the official diagnosis. You had the meeting with the lawyer. You changed his healthcare facility to a facility where you knew it would be easier and everybody would be on the same page. Like you just like jumped right in and made some really big changes that I don't think a lot of people make right away.
Yeah, and I also uh, I was also sort of semi-caring for my brother who's bipolar,
Mm-hmm.
and he was in and out of mental hospital, and I'm like, okay, that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
I need your help. You come down here with me. And so I rented an apartment, and he works for me every afternoon.
Oh,
And
nice.
And so, he has hit, and so that support network is good. It's very hard for him, but
When you say he works for you, meaning like he helps your husband while you have time to do things on your own?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah.
Yep, we have a deal. I do the apartment for him. He does 4 hours every day for me, and Jim, and they hang out on the balcony or do whatever, or, so that, and that's really a family thing, and I'm very lucky that was there. I've been trying to think of, maybe he needs more engagement, and I might like to do a day program sometime, but I don't think he's going to go for it. So, yeah, but I'm telling you, after I took the care course, well, first I saw the videos, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that I went to bed every night with my earphones and my iPhone watching these, every single one, and just tears. And then I told my neighbor whose husband, and then I told other people, and I said, wait, there's like somebody that's telling us what to do, and that was the biggest thing. I just didn't have any clue. And so these arguments would be horrible. And we never really argued.
Right.
And the all sorts of things. And so, once I understood, don't disagree, don't try to rationalize this. And then everything just sort of fell away. It was just, it didn't totally fall away, because it was very, very difficult during the infection period, during all the medication. And he had 3 operations. And I remember going on, and he would have falls. And that's when I said to the doctor, this is not working. He, he's not supposed to fall.
Right.
You're supposed to fix it.
Right.
And they took him right in for another operation and did that.
Okay.
And, but I think the biggest thing, it was very, very, and I'm sure other people have this too, when somebody gets really sick, I mean, if they're already not completely understanding their world, this is just a horror for them.
Right.
And everything hurts them, and everything bothers them. And there's really very little that you can do about that, except try to be with them and try to make it better, and, take all the good times you can. But it's the illness that just propels, and it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. When someone has an infection, they're going to be worse. The delusions are worse. The hallucinations are worse. Everything is worse. Right. And then when you get that under control, like, then you can go back and have your nice life, and, still doesn't know where we are, but likes to go out to eat, and, we can do those things. And so.
How is it going out in public and going out to eat with your husband? Is it pretty smooth, or have you had to make a lot of changes in the approach to make it as smooth as possible?
Well, I mean, of course there are changes, because his mobility is not that good. And the other thing is, he really can't, it's either too hot or too cold. There's too much noise or not. So I have to pick the places and be there. And our city has dementia-friendly restaurants.
Oh, nice.
And so I know where those are, and some of them are our favorites. And so nice. I can go there. And And actually, for me, the pandemic has been the great equalizer. I mean, if we really can't go out that much, we have everything delivered. We set up a nice table. I don't feel bad that I can't be out, so that's good. But as soon as we were vaxxed up, I said, come on, brunch.
Yeah. Did he seem to was he okay with staying at home more during all of that? Or was he wanting to go out and you having to explain to him why you couldn't do it?
No, he was okay with it.
Yeah. It sounds like you tried to make it as special as you could too.
And also as I said, the thing with his dementia, and I don't have any other diagnosis other than dementia.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if it's this one or that one, or because I don't think it matters.
Right.
But with him, he has no understanding of where he is in time. But there's occasional glimmers of, this looks like the place I used to live. I'm like, yeah, a lot of stuff here like that,
Yeah.
So, usually he wants to check out of this hotel.
What do you do in those situations?
I say, yeah, we're going to leave in the morning.
And that works.
Yeah, it's raining.
So, and you mentioned earlier, I think you said sometimes he doesn't know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens. It's happening less now. But often he'll toggle back. He's like, yeah, I know you're Mary. And then he's like, but sometimes he thinks I'm his mother. And sometimes he thinks I'm Mary, but I'm the old Mary. And he's still married to his first wife. So that's a problem because we shouldn't be together. And then sometimes he thinks I'm his brother, and sometimes, so there's different things, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. How do you keep I'm getting the sense from you that you're very kind of flexible and easygoing with your approach and kind of keeping a really good attitude and lightness about it. How do you do that?
I can't imagine. I mean, if you didn't have a sense of humor, I mean, sometimes this is hysterically funny, which I can't laugh at him, but, I'll go in the other room and I'll just be like, oh my God. But I think you have to have a certain, you can't change it. So, and you kind of got to go with it. And I don't know.
Yeah.
As I say, I just try to be with him where he is.
Yes.
At this time. And he's such good company when he's calm and okay and not, sick or anything like that. He's really very, very pleasant and he's funny. And I'm funny, so I can always joke him out of something,
Yeah, that's great.
So, yeah. I think that's why the doctors like him.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Besides kind of keeping that humor and that lightness about the situation, what other things do you do to help you? Just kind of overall in your situation?
Well, I stay very the second thing I did was I have a woman that cleaned for me like monthly, and then every 2 weeks I said, that's weekly now. So that's over. I try to, I make sure that I just don't worry about stuff that I used to. Do you like my hair?
I do. It's beautiful.
I know. It's a wig, and I wear
Okay.
wigs. And so
Is that
there,
for time saving, just so you don't have to worry about your,
you
oh
betcha.
man, I might
Why
take this
not?
advice.
And
Right.
so I'm like, I was a mess. And so I'm like, okay. So one of my other thing is sister wigs. I just, so I can go with anything, and that is both a time saver for me. Sometimes, some weeks I can't get a shower.
Mm,
Oh,
right.
I've learned to sleep when Jim sleeps because I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't getting enough sleep. And I said, well, that's not going to work. I tried hiring a sitter when I was doing the infusions.
Yeah.
That didn't work. They were waking me up. I'm like, no, the idea here is I sleep. And so that didn't work. I finally said, this is wasting money. Um, I'll just sleep when he sleeps, and that's how I'll get my sleep. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's a big thing. And I'm very, I have a lot of volunteer activities, and I stay very engaged. I run a film festival. Well, I don't run it anymore because I couldn't do that. I just said, hey, I got to step back. I'll still be on the board, but
Right.
so film festival, I'm the head of the civic association. I run history tour. I try to do lots of things
Mm-hmm.
that keep me very involved in my community and in the things that I care about. So,
Yeah. I
um,
love it. Things like, well, not only the humor and lightness, but things that save you time. Sounds like something that you do to kind of help yourself. And then also just staying engaged in things that you like, but doing it in a way that supports you. So, like stepping back from certain roles if it's too much, but
right.
still staying involved. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you volunteer to do something, then you pretty much got to do it. You can't disappoint other people, so you got to tell them, hey,
Yeah.
this is it. I got 3 hours for you.
Mm-hmm.
When time's up, you got to do it now.
Yeah.
And I think that's been hard because I find it very difficult to say no.
Mm.
Um, and I also, probably like a lot of other women caregivers, I find it very difficult to ask for help.
Mm.
And, uh, so probably that's where I don't do as well as I
Mm-hmm.
should. I don't ask people to do stuff. I'll pay people to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
um, I'll order stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm trying to now get to the point where I've hinted, but I have to be better about it. Just say, it would be great if you would come for an hour at noontime
Yeah.
just to have a chat with Jim, do
Yeah.
that. And he has a couple friends, his old hockey buddies who do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they just call him, or one guy comes over and we just laugh for
Oh,
hours. And
that's
so that's
wonderful.
really fun. Um, and, but he just had to have a heart stent put in. So I'm like, hey, don't die. I need you.
So are
Uh,
his friends, they're aware of what's going on with your husband?
yes.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a lot of close friends, but they are. We have really good friends, but they don't live in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So our best friends are in Mexico now,
Mm-hmm.
and so we do video calls with them occasionally, and
Yeah.
just laugh and laugh. We
Yeah.
tried to do. We tried. We tried to do a sailing vacation, which we thought would be great, where we went to Grenada and we had a captained boat. It was awful.
Oh, how come?
Well, because they filled the other cabins. And so basically, we wanted to sail. We've been sailing all our lives. And and the other people wanted to go diving. And so they would just motor around a lot. So our friends were not happy. We were not happy. We tried. Jim couldn't even find his way around on the boat. He's walking into other people's cabins.
Oh, geez.
And they got it. I said, hey, here's what's going on,
Yeah.
And so it turned out it wasn't as bad as I'm saying, but it was just not the great vacation that we wanted.
Right.
And I said, okay, lesson learned,
Yeah.
That's not it. My friend went on a dementia cruise, but I think she said she probably wouldn't do it again, with her husband,
It's like a cruise specifically for people with their loved ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, that's at a certain point, trying to do some of the things that you always did is going to bring you pain. And because you just, excuse me a moment here. Jim gets very upset if the phone rings, so I have to pick it up and answer.
Go for it. Yeah.
It will bring you some pain because he can't do the things he used to do. And it's just, you just have to give that up and find new stuff. It's like just find new stuff.
Yeah.
Because this isn't it. And, the way I look at it is this is going to be progressive. So do as much new stuff as you possibly can. Don't try to make it like the old, just figure out what you can do and do that. And even if it's just sitting around reading the funnies,
absolutely.
It's better than putting stress on him, because when he has to get into a different situation where he's got to figure out all this stuff that's going on, where he is, who are these people around him, what is this when I see that struggle start to happen, and it does, it's like, why am I bothering with this? This is no good. If we go to a restaurant, it's table for two, him and me, mano y mano, and we're good to go. We order that full bottle.
Can you describe a little bit the difference of going to a restaurant that's a dementia-friendly restaurant versus one that might not be?
Usually a dementia-friendly restaurant, the servers know. And so that's the biggest thing that I noticed. The servers understand. So number one, they don't hover. They don't ask, they give you the menu. The tables typically are a little further apart. They get you in a quiet section so that there isn't a lot of clatter. And I think the biggest thing is that the servers understand and have been trained that they can't make a decision, number one, on what they're going to have. There might be spills.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's not traumatic. That's just the spill.
Right.
And they say, oh, Mr. Edie, we're just going to take that away, give you a new one, And this is huge. Just if the servers know and have been trained or understand. And that's been something, my little city has a senior services, and they, and this is something, the whole idea of dementia-friendly restaurants. There aren't a lot of them, but, it's there. And of course, these have been closed for a year. So who knows what it'll be like. But the places that we go, are good. And often if I explain, if we go to a new place opened on the waterfront, and I just said, oh, can we get a quiet table? and they realize, oh, okay, something's going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And, they'll put you a little out of the way, and that's good,
Yeah.
And once we get
Nice.
our bottle of wine, we're good.
So physically, your husband, does he need things to be able to help him walk around? Is he still able to bathe on his own? How is he doing physically?
Well, it's been a long haul, but he's able to walk with a cane and use a walker. Sometimes he'll say, "I think I'll take the bus," and then he takes the walker.
Oh,
And so he hates it. He doesn't like to use a cane or a walker because he's been so physically active and athletic his whole life. But he does it. And so we have trouble, but not a lot. It's like a lot of people that have had knee surgery, because that's what he's had, 3 knee
right.
surgeries.
Right.
So he's there, and he does bathe himself, and he showers himself, and he won't let me in the bathroom, although I insist to watch. And that was another thing. We had great support from physical and occupational therapy in the home.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed me, the first time he was sick, I said, I want to go to a nursing home where I can stay with him. And I'm going to watch everything that they do. And that's what I did. I went. And so I stayed there and slept with him, and I watched how they did everything, and I watched how they gave the infusion, and I did all this. And I'm like, okay, and of course it was awful for him. He was up, and it was a mess. But then I told them, I said, okay, we're going to leave next week. And they said, oh, no, we should stay the full 21 day, do this. I said, no, I got this. I'm taking them home. And, they send you all this stuff at home. But one of the big things that I learned from occupation was the tools that we needed. So, I need the long shoehorn, the one that's like, 2 feet long.
Right.
And we still use that all the time. The special bars. I have this tub bar. It goes down on the tub and is a handle to get in and out, and the bars inside, and all of this. And we should have had them anyhow,
Mm-hmm.
But just getting all that stuff and having things to make it easier. And frankly, they would be easy. This is stuff that you should have, regardless of whether you've had leg surgery or difficult mobility, because you got to have all this stuff. I always keep a shower chair in the shower, thinking at least if you fall into the chair. But he's good. He's very good about that. Big problem is he has like a lot of nighttime itching, that bugs and stuff. And so he wants to take showers all the time. I'm like, you can only take 1 a day.
Wow. Yeah.
So, but I let him take 2, It's like, who cares?
Yeah. And I'm curious, you mentioned when you had the sitter would come and like wake you up sometimes. So it wasn't really much of a break. What would be some of the things they would come to wake you up for?
Oh. Well, they weren't supposed to be there. And he told them they weren't supposed to be there. And he told them he was going to call the police and they weren't going to be there. And he would yell at them and scream at them. And he became too hot to handle. And I'd try to introduce them and just say, this is, occasionally one would be a little better than another, but there was one that really did understand, but she was only available on weekends. And then, so I'm like, I can't go through 5 people.
Yeah, At some point,
And
it just seems
that's really
easier
what it
for you
was.
to, yeah.
I had what I would say would be immense dissatisfaction with, um, you know, people that would be assigned to come. You know, they just weren't.
Yeah.
It didn't work. And I know part of that was me weaning him off of me, but fact is, I'm the one that's going to be here anyhow. So, um, you know, if they're not a help, I mean, he would chase my brother out, but, you know, if he fell, you know, we'd have to both lift him up and get him in the bed. So, you know.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that was very difficult. That's, you know, I knew I needed somebody who was family, who was, you know, going to be here, and that made a big difference. Absolutely. So for as long as we can do it, he'll be home.
That's great.
That's what he wants. That's what I want. And so that's what we're going to do.
All right.
But we can't do it. And I know everything there is to know about incontinence supplies.
Oh. So he's incontinent?
No, he was.
Oh, when he was going through the infection.
Yeah, when he was going through the infection and he couldn't quite get out of bed, you know, so, and that was a great thing to learn, you know, how to change a bed, how to put this things under, how to move him, how to do all that. We don't need any of that now, but I still have a closet of supplies. Because
how did you learn all that?
Well, number one, after I stayed with him, they allowed me to stay with him in the hospital every time because it was easier on the nurses.
Yeah.
Even during the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're really good at advocating for your husband.
Yeah, you have to be. And so, you know, so I went to the nursing home for 2 weeks. And then I guess it was it was either the second or the third operation. I was really worried, and I said, I can't do it. My gums were bleeding. You know, I was really falling apart, you know, after like 7 months of this. And I said, he's going to go to rehab because he needs more intensive rehab, and they can give him the infusions every 6 hours. It was their nightmare because he pulls his, you know, his IVs out, you know, but I let that happen, and they taught me a lot, you know, so I didn't stay with him that time. I remember asking on Facebook, I said, oh, I feel so guilty. I don't want to send him there. And you said, do you think he's going to know?
Oh, really?
And you were right. He doesn't even remember he was there. And he certainly doesn't remember that I wasn't there. So,
it worked out.
And he got better faster. It was the right decision. He got the care that he needed.
Yeah. So, curious, because I think this might help some people. You advocated for your husband a lot, like to be able to stay in the hospital, to be able to go to the, you know, nursing home, long-term care facility. Did you ever initially get a no where the staff members like, no, you can't do this, and then you had to like persist?
Yeah. Oh, I always got a no. Yeah. And the worst was when they were going to, the second time, they were going to send him home with me. And I said, no, he's going to go to a rehab. And they said, no, he should go home. And, you know, we'll send you the infusion supplies and do all of this. And I said, you know, I've been there before. I said, I'm falling apart. My gums are bleeding. I'm going to go do my doctor's visit, and he's getting rehab. And I said, and you better figure it out. And then they came back to me. This is the hospitalist and the social worker. And they said, well, we'll double up on the in-home physical therapy. I said, he gets 21 days from Medicare. He's going into that rehab and he's going to be walking when he comes out. I said,
Wow.
that's it.
They were trying to make a deal with you. And well, you had to know enough to be able to know he gets this amount of days. Like, it's not like you're asking for something he doesn't get, you know? So you had to know enough. How did you know that?
Google.
So you just did a lot of research on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, I did a lot of research on everything, but I think the key thing here was, I had, I had done it before, so I know what was involved in, from the first operation to the second one. So I really knew it, and I knew that I could not do it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I would have died.
Yeah. Yeah. You
I
have
was
to know your
totally
limits.
burnt out.
Yeah.
Totally fried. And I got 2 weeks of respite. When I get the time, I said, this is on my list of lobbying things to do. I want my U.S. Senator and my congressman, I want them to make sure that everyone with dementia gets 1 month of care in facility care, just 1 month a year, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They have to get that. And they should also provide, they should also be able to give you compensation for day programs or whatever. And, people need that. There's too many people who are doing this on their own. And, if you have cancer, you get to go in for an infusion. If you have all, these other conditions, this should be something that's there. It's good for me. It's good for him.
Yeah.
But right now, I just don't really think there's very much care unless you're Medicaid and you go into a nursing home, or unless you're private pay and you go into a nursing home or assisted living or something like that. But it's not like there's any real insurance coverage for this.
Right.
And I'm lucky, that we can afford some things, but the fact is that he deserves it, and I deserve it too.
Yes. Yes. That's wonderful.
The 2 weeks or 3 weeks that he was in rehab, were what I needed to recharge and to be able to do it all over again, the next 6 months. And it was actually what he needed to get more mobile, to be able to walk better and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So what words of encouragement or support or advice or anything you have to say to Careblazers that might be watching this?
Oh, well, I would say that the biggest thing, certainly for me, was, just find the ways to have a good relationship with your loved one. That's the biggest thing. That will make the biggest difference in your life, is that you two can have a really good relationship. And, that means listen to all the videos about things not to do or ways to comfort them. And sometimes you can't comfort them, but just figure out a way. I can't tell you something I never did probably in 48 years of marriage, but I wasn't around calling him honey and dear or saying I love you or any of that stuff. Now I tell him probably 100 times a day how much I love him. So because he has such self-loathing, he knows he hates that he can't remember things or can't do things or feels stupid, and so hugs and attention are big, but anything you can do. And the thing is that the beauty of dementia is that they don't remember the past, very much of it anyhow. So whatever relationship you used to have, or even things that you did, you can just make all new things, you know?
Yeah.
And but that relationship is the biggest thing, and it will make your life easier. It will make their life easier,
Yes.
you know, and it isn't easy, but it'll make it easier.
Yes. I love
So
it. I think that's such an important one, doing what you can to improve the relationship.
the
Yeah.
biggest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Love it. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us, Mary. Is there anything I didn't ask that you really wanted to share?
Maybe I'm looking, I wrote a bunch of notes. I wrote a poem.
Oh,
And I'm not a
nice.
poet.
Do you want to
Uh,
share it?
I'm going to share it because I had it here and I wasn't thinking about it. You know, I was thinking about it, but I think I will do it anyhow. And I watched one of your sessions about grief
Mm.
and the fact that, and this is really true, I was grieving a great deal. You know, I missed our life. I missed what I thought our retired life was going to be. I missed so much. And so I wrote this and I just entitled it Grief.
Mm.
It comes in waves, cresting, ebbing, flowing, lapping at the shores of my mind, so deep, so soft, so sad. So long, my love. I will love you and miss you forever.
Mm.
And so I wrote that to him. And so there is some grief involved, and it's okay. I find myself, it's okay to be sad and cry sometimes, but it's easier to keep it light.
Yeah, that's a beautiful poem. And I can't help but make the connection about you two enjoying sailing and the poem having to do with a lot of water there.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Well, I'm happy to do it.
Wonderful.
I just want to introduce everyone to your videos and care course. It changed my life and it changed our
Mm.
relationship. So thank you. Just
No, it's my
thank
pleasure.
you.
My pleasure. I'm so glad. Thank you so much. Any other resources actually that you came across in your journey that was helpful that you could recommend to other people as well who might be watching? I'm assuming most people watching know my videos. Maybe they haven't joined the care course yet, but maybe there's some other resources they don't know about.
I have to say that uh, I would say the biggest things was getting an elder care attorney.
Yeah.
That was uh, and there are those resources out there. And I also used an elder care consultant briefly, just to help me think through what was possible and what kinds of if he had to go to assisted living. So I know those are resources. Usually they're regional, like by region. There's books, and you just try to figure out, who's right for you. So I would say that's a very good resource. I haven't done any. I started to do a caregiver, you know, uh, support group, but it, it just it just wasn't for me,
Yeah.
and also I just didn't want to take that time to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, so um, so I can't go there. And my friend, another wife whose husband has Alzheimer's, she gave me the book, The 36-Hour Day.
Yes.
And I love that book.
Yes.
And so it's helpful. It doesn't, I will tell you that, of course, going back to it, I'm like, well, where's this? That's not in there. but
I,
but it's still a very good book. And I think the whole idea of 36-hour day just really uh, prepares you for what you are doing, because it is 36 hours.
Yeah,
You're
it's a
never
lot.
off. You got to figure out when to do everything. So those have been the main resources. And, having a supportive family, wine is good.
Red or white?
Both.
Yeah, for me, it depends on the weather.
Actually, I'm a champagne girl, and so is Jim. We like champagne, so we have it all the time, and oysters.
Oh, nice. Living lavish.
Living large.
Well, Mary, thank you so much for sharing your story with all of us. I really appreciate it. And thank you for what you do for your husband.
Thank you so much for sharing yourself with us and for caring about us. Totally.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And honestly, I just talk. It's all of you taking it and applying it and doing it. That's the only reason it works. My words don't do anything. It's everybody actually taking them and trying to apply them. And I know that's not an easy thing. So
it isn't, but it works.
That's good. That's good. Awesome. All right, Mary, we'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.